Hello and welcome. Today we are peeling back the layers of all the tech in our lives to get to the very heart of how it all works. We're going to decode the fundamental language of every digital device, that simple on or off logic that powers, well, literally everything. I mean, have you ever stopped to wonder how your phone or your computer makes decisions in the blink of an eye? You know, whether it's figuring out the fastest route to work or unlocking with your face, it all just happens. But how? Well, the secret isn't some kind of digital magic. Nope, it all boils down to a language that's built on the simplest idea you can possibly imagine, a switch being either on or off. That's it. This is the language of ones and zeros.
All right, so let's jump right in. We're going to learn the absolute basics of how computers talk and, more importantly, how we can translate between the way we think and the way they think. First up, we're going to compare the number system we use every single day to the ones that fuel our digital world. The best way to think about them is like different dialects, all used for counting.
So, as you can see, we humans are all about base 10, right? We call it decimal. We use 10 digits, 0 through 9. But computers, they operate on a way simpler system, base 2, or binary. It only uses 2 digits, 0 and 1. And then we have hexadecimal, or base 16, which is this really cool and crucial shorthand for programmers.
This chart is awesome because it really shows you the difference. Just look at the number 15. In binary, it's this 4-digit string. 1, 1, 1, 1. Kind of clunky, right? But in hexadecimal, it's just the letter F. And that is exactly why programmers love hex. It's a super clean, compact way to represent these long, messy strings of binary. So let's see how this actually works. Getting the hang of translating between these digital languages is a really fundamental skill if you want to understand computing.
Okay, the most common way to convert from our system to the computers is something called repeated division. It sounds technical, but it's not. You just keep dividing your number by 2 and jotting down the remainder, which of course is always going to be a 1 or a 0 until you just can't divide anymore.
And here's what that looks like. We start with 29, divided by 2, and we get 14 with a remainder of 1. Then we just keep going, all the way until our result is 0. Now, listen up, because here's the trick. You read those remainders from the bottom up. So for 29, that gives us 11101.
All right, now it's your turn. Go ahead and try using this method to convert the number 63. Seriously, hit pause and give it a shot. You back? Okay, if you did it right, you should have gotten 6 ones all in a row. 1111111. Nice work.
Now, believe it or not, converting from binary to other systems like hexadecimal is actually even easier. The whole trick is grouping. You don't have to do any complex math, you just group the binary digits. For hex, you put them in sets of 4, and for another system called octal, you group them in sets of 3.
This is a perfect example. Let's take the binary number 10101. Start from the right. Our first group of 4 is 0101. Which, if you remember our chart, is the number 5. The only digit left over is a 1. To make it a full group, we just add some zeros to the front. We pad it to get 0001, which is just 1. Put them together, and you get 15 in hex. See? It's really that simple.
Okay, so we can speak the language now. Let's take it a step further and see how that language is used to build the actual circuits that make decisions. This is where things get really, really clever. Meet the Carnot map, or K-map for short. This is an engineer's secret weapon. It's basically a visual grid that lets you take a bunch of complicated logic rules and turn them into a simple puzzle. And solving that puzzle helps us design way more efficient digital circuits.
So a circuit's instructions usually start out looking like this. It's called a truth table. It's really just a big list that spells out the output you want for every single possible combination of inputs. In this case, F is our output and A, B, C, and D are our inputs.
Next, we take that data and we just transfer it right onto a K-map. See? Every single row in that table where the output F was a 1, we put a 1 in the matching box on the grid. And just like that, our boring list of rules has become a visual pattern we can work with.
So now we solve the puzzle. And the whole reason we do this is to find patterns that let us simplify the logic underneath it all. This is so critical because simplification leads directly to smaller, faster, cheaper electronics that use way less power.
Now, solving this puzzle has a few simple rules. Your goal is to circle the biggest possible rectangular groups of ones that you can find. These groups have to have a number of cells that's a power of 2. So groups of 2, 4, 8, and so on. But here's the mind-bending part. The map wraps around. Think of it like Pac-Man, where going off the right side of the screen brings you back on the left. Same thing here.
You can totally see that happening in this image. By circling these neighboring ones, we're basically finding shortcuts in the logic. Every big group we make actually eliminates variables from the final circuit design. So the bigger the group, the simpler the circuit gets.
But hang on, what about input combinations that are just impossible? Or maybe they're just irrelevant to what the circuit does. We call those don't care conditions. And on our K-map, we mark them with a big X.
The X is like a wild card. It has this magic flexibility. You can choose to treat an X as a 1 if it helps you make a bigger group, or you can just treat it as a 0 and ignore it completely. This gives us a massive strategic advantage for making our logic as simple as possible.
And this slide just shows that strategy perfectly. Look at the left image. If we only group the ones, the biggest group we can get is 4 cells. But now, look at the right. By being clever and including those 2 don't care X's, we can suddenly make a massive group of 8. That one little move results in a way simpler and more efficient final design.
And that's really the heart of it all. This simple visual trick, turning logic into a pattern and using these X's to our advantage, is absolutely fundamental to creating the super optimized, efficient technology we all depend on every single day.
You know, this whole idea goes so far beyond just electronics. Whether you're trying to optimize a piece of code or just organize a project at work, the lesson is the same. Sometimes, just taking a step back to find the hidden pattern is the key to a much simpler, much smarter solution.